My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
And yes, we have sound. This is Jonathan Gillum, Rico, and we are on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And I'm having a hard time thinking because I had to pick this dog up and forgot to push the on-air button. But listen, he wanted to be up here for some strange reason. All right, you can sit up here as long as you want. All right, we're going to do the Friday Night Toast tonight. It's going to be a short show. It's Friday. And as you can see, there's a lot of love in here. I don't know what this dog's doing. You all right, buddy? All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the reality is of what's going on today. A little bit about this knucklehead Marie Chappelle Nadal, who's a state senator from Missouri. He wants to see Trump killed. So why don't we go ahead and get started? And over we go. There you go. Interesting. Just so everybody knows, I redid a little bit of my studio here. And on my screen, I'm going to have to move it back because I moved around stuff that's on my screens because I thought it would be easier for me to track what's going on. But unfortunately, when it happens, I'm looking at the wrong. It's a hard thing to explain, but there's several different screens going on up here. One of them is the main broadcasting that's real time. The other ones are on a delay because as it gets rebroadcast to Twitter and Facebook, there's a delay. So what happened with the sound? See, I'm learning all this stuff as we go along. Whenever you move stuff around, and Jim DeLong can tell you, when I first got this this new soundboard, I'm still having problems with this on-air button. I don't think I'll ever get used to that. But when you move things around, when you're doing something in a show that you're used to doing stuff a certain way, it's going to cause your mind to question what's going on. And so anyway, I looked at the wrong screen, and there you go. That's why the music got started late. But listen, you learn, right, dog? I don't know what he's doing. Here you go. Sit up straight. This dog does not look 17 years old, that's for sure. Unless you see him walking, then you know for sure he's 17. All right, so here's the deal. Where are we at right now? I think everybody's asking now because Bannon is out. Everybody's worried. People are worried exactly what's happening, and this is what I'm getting from my sources. And I'm not going to go into full detail about it, but Trump is pretty much isolated now in the White House. And I don't know exactly how that happened, but whether it be because he's being advised by his kids, by his son-in-law, who they're liberal, and he's surrounded by generals that are liberal, people like McMaster, who is, in my eyes, a criminal that has done more to side with the communist and the subversive groups in this country than anybody else that's in the White House right now. I'm still hearing stuff about Mattis and about the majority of generals. I'm hearing the majority of executive officers in the DOD are far-left zealots. Listen, this is a scary, scary thing. However, as Linda just said there on Twitter, this is the reality of things. Don't be worried. You know, we're no longer fully represented in the White House. Let's just admit that. Okay, that's the facts. I'm not saying Bannon was everything about the White House. Bannon was an advisor. But the reality is, folks, that Trump was never going to be the end-all, be-all of fixing America. That's us. We're going to have to do that. But you're not going to stick somebody into the White House who shows up with, who ran a good campaign. You want to get down now? Who ran a great campaign, and he did. Trump ran a great campaign. There's no doubt about that. However, he showed up to the gate with nobody. Bannon and a couple other people were the only ones that, by and large, feel the way the American people do. And when I say feel the way the American people do, they're conservatives. I'm sure I don't feel the same way Bannon does on everything, but by and large, what you have in Washington, D.C. is you have a tremendous amount of people that are just liberal to the extent that when you have communists rioting, not just in Charlottesville, forget about Charlottesville. Okay, there's no way that those of us that are trying to convince the American people, politicians in the media, that there were communists there and that communists are very dangerous, we're not going to win that argument. Okay, they want to, and for some reason they have their sights set on this whole white supremacy thing, which is vile and dangerous and narcissistic and terrible. There's no doubt about that, folks. There's no doubt about it. However, we can't. There's no way we're going to be able to convince them of the reality of the other side in Charlottesville. That's just their narrative. That's their agenda. There's no way. But we have to realize as American people that there are particular times when the people that are leftists, that are communist, they're going to raise their head and they're going to expose themselves. The way they reacted to Charlottesville, perfect example. The way they acted all last year. Remember, it wasn't white supremacists or anybody else that was causing a ruckus last year during the election process. That was the left. There was proof. It was shown through emails and things that were leaked that they were setting up the fights, that they were causing the problems at all these rallies for the president, for the candidate Trump then. We know that CNN and other news outlets colluded with the DNC to do nefarious and really illegal things. We learned that. And the state of affairs now, what you have to realize, and I mean this to the depth of my soul, people have to realize, you cannot, it is not time, still, it is not time to go out and pick up guns and just start going crazy. You cannot do things in a operational capacity if you have not worked together. And this is the problem. The American people do not work together. Conservatives don't work together. People who are liberal, who are saying, I'm not comfortable with what's happening in Washington, D.C., they don't work together. They don't practice operating together, just trying to get people to come together on this little thing I made up last week called the Constitutional Quick Reaction Force. I did that, and everybody was here when I got the idea, just so people will get together and do some tweets, whether they're in support of the president or whether they are to go after some knucklehead like Wolf Blitzer. The reality is, folks, you can't go to guns. You can't go to protest. You can't do all these things unless you are used to working together. And by and large, we are not. And I'm not just saying conservatives. I'm saying liberals who are effective thinkers. Rick Unger is a good friend of mine. There's other people that are liberal that I know who refuse to see the reality of what was happening last week in Charlottesville. They refuse to see it. Whether it's because of their own narcissistic reasons, because their religion was being attacked, or because the people that the white supremacists were there speak out against the color of their skin, whatever. They chose to ignore the other side. But those are the people that I would like to come on board and see reality for what it is. A lot of people just don't think there'll ever be a fight in this country, that things will just go on. But folks, Washington, D.C., as we know it, is not at all like the Founding Fathers intended it to be. And this is the status of the way things are. There is no separation of the different branches of government. There's no overwatch. There's no checks and balances. There's just two parties, the Democrat and the Republicans. And by and large, there's really only one class in Washington, D.C., and that's the ruling class. And they don't associate or even consider the people in this country. And now you can call me a conspiracy theorist. But when I see One American News is one of the only networks that I've seen besides Newsmax when I'm on there, talking about the reality of Antifa. And I posted this on Facebook. One American News did a short special about Antifa and the Bilderberg Group. That was conspiracy theory nonsense a couple of months ago. The people in Washington, D.C. that run Washington, D.C., it's not just the politicians. It's the lobbyists. It's the staffers, the long-term staffers. It's the attorneys, the advisors, all these people. This is the machine in Washington, D.C. They thrive on the Republican and Democratic Party. Big money donors thrive on the Democratic and Republican Party. And by and large, the Republican and Democratic Party are just different ways for these people to make their money. They don't want those parties to go away. It doesn't matter who wins, they're going to win. They're going to make tons of money. They're going to gain their power. They're going to keep their power. And that's the way it works. So where are we now? What do we do? I say right now what you should do is take a deep breath. And you should realize that the future of this country is going to be determined by one of two groups of people. The future of this country is going to be determined by the people that I just described, the ruling class that live by a different set of laws, that don't get punished or don't get charged, don't get put in jail when they do something that is highly illegal. They don't subscribe by the same lifestyle that we subscribe by. They don't have to worry about the same insurance problems that we have. They have their own. This country and its future is going to be determined by those people, or it's going to be determined by the citizens of this country. One of two things. That's it. Plain and simple. Now, the people of this country are multifaceted. I can't put them in a group that's easily definable like the people in Washington, D.C. The people of this country are all races, all religions, sexes, races. It doesn't matter. Genders, just whatever. The country and its people will only be able to make a difference in the future and where this country goes if they learn how to unite. And that is the one common thing about all of them. There's many, many, many common traits about the corrupt people in Washington, D.C. Tons of similarities in all of them. That's why they're so easily definable. But the American people, hard to pin them down to one particular thing. You have rich people, poor people, educated people, not educated, but wise. You have highly educated people that are not wise at all because they've, for some reason, are comfortable being told what to do all the time. But there is that one defining thing that is easily used to point out, yes, that's an American citizen. And it's hard to believe that this is the one defining thing. It's that they don't want to work with anyone else. American citizens are bold and they grew up free. They were born free. A lot of people come here and then become free. And by and large, a lot of times they do things that are amazing. $300 in their pocket and they become billionaires. But quite often, it's the other way around. They have everything going for them in the country and they just assimilate and become uncooperative in the group effort. Now, you don't need a group like Antifa, which is communist, Black Lives Matter, which is a black separatist group. Don't fool yourself. You don't need groups like the white supremacists that are vile and are also separatists that don't. None of those people believe in the Constitution. They may say they follow the Constitution, but they don't believe in it. They want it their way. They don't believe in the melting pot. None of those people do. People that are gay, people that are transgender, people that are female feminist, whatever your special activist ideology is, you will be the first ones killed by communists. White supremacists, there's so few, and there's no way they will ever be in control of this country. Never. Your concern should be with the anarchist and the communist and those types of people that will kill all of us that raise a ruckus and cause problems. They'll kill all of us. So the state of affairs, I'm kind of rambling. Let me just say this. The state of affairs in this country is this. Islam and communism, consider them working together. I think ultimately communism would crush Islam if they ever got their way and got to the forefront. I don't think Islam would be able to stand up against the reality of the global movement of world leaders that are communist. However, they're both a problem. And if they're working together, then there's a good possibility that even though the United States is logistically very difficult for people to attack, if you have communists at the top of our government, which we do, globalists at the top of our government, which we do, people who don't care about the American people and subscribe to the fact that they believe they are of a different ranking and a different class, a higher class than the American people, you cannot trust that they won't allow the Islamic jihadists to come in and form an attack and start carrying out large-scale attacks in this country. I don't know. It's possible. But you should consider those two groups working together. You should consider the media as part of that family tree. You should consider big money donors as part of that tree. Lobbyists as part of that tree. State senators and congressmen, mayors, anybody that's elected and is a part of the two-party system, you should consider a potential player in that. And if you were a part, and you're watching this, and you're a part of one of those two political parties, ask yourself this. Do you subscribe to what the establishment subscribes to in Washington, D.C.? If you don't, then you need to be very careful with what you stand with them on, and you should be very willing to hold them to the fire and make them accountable for things that they do wrong. The status of the White House, I don't believe we're fully represented there. I think Trump is isolated and he's alone. I think our government is so full of corrupt globalists that he doesn't have the knowledge militarily to do this stuff without the proper advisors. And those proper advisors, by and large, are not who's surrounding him. I think Mike Pence is a snake in the grass. I've not liked the guy since he picked him. I don't trust anybody that's that clean. Mitt Romney is another one. They're like twin brothers, those two. I don't trust, to answer one of the questions that came across Twitter, I don't trust anybody in national security that has not been in the military or in intelligence work. Even somebody that's been in the FBI, if they were in a position in the National Security Council, I don't trust their judgment on things because they've never fought in a war. They've never been trained as a warrior. They've never paid the price and seen the reality of what you see in the military. I've done both of those things. And there's a huge difference in the way your mindset is and what you've learned from the military to the FBI. Intelligence gets it, but not high-level people in any of these. But as far as the people everybody's asking me about, if they are just a person that has a lot of academic knowledge, but they've never been in the military or intelligence work, they shouldn't be in our national security. If they're a military executive above the level of 06, I don't trust them. They shouldn't be in our White House. Just because somebody has general behind their name, I don't care if it's Kelly. I don't care if it's Mattis. I don't McMaster. I don't care. If they have general behind their name, I don't like them. So that should tell you what I feel about this. I've been glad that those people have been put into places because I do think tactically if things go wrong big time that they're going to make better decisions. However, I would rather see E7s across the board put in all those positions or E8s. I would rather see somebody from the intel community that actually earned their rank, unlike McMaster, to be the head of the National Security Council. But the president is isolated. And so our representation in the White House has decreased tremendously. So this brings me back to and I'm going to wrap this up, the state of affairs in this country and how it points to you. It is up to the American citizens to swallow your pride. I know you're free. You're free-born. I know that nobody else can touch us. But Texas is a good example of the overall structure of this country. People in Texas are proud. They have their guns. Nobody's going to mess with them. Don't mess with Texas. Meanwhile, Texas now has 3 sanctuary cities, possibly 4 that we know of. They have extremely leftist mayors in those cities. You have large populations of people that have moved to Texas, just like they moved to California, for the sheer fact, and Colorado, just for the sheer fact of overthrowing and subverting that state. Sorry, I thought Rico wanted to come up here again. And Texas is just like the United States. You have people that have subverted this country by going straight to the top in these periods, utilizing the power of the left to unify. The power of their attorneys that work, I wouldn't say for free, but they work for their cause. You have the power of the left and their blind sheep who are robotically told what to say, how to act, what to wear. They're unified. Whether it's through stupidity and blindness, it doesn't matter. They're unified. And you need to realize this. Because the state of affairs in this country is that, just like Texas, the United States has been subverted. And the people that are the very top, the ruling class, the people that don't listen to what is important for you. They just do what's going to line their pockets. Healthcare is a great example. There's a reason why Republicans aren't doing anything. Why on earth would they give up the money that lines their pockets from their constituents, people who run these pharmaceutical companies and hospitals, all these big lobbyists? Why would those politicians who are on easy street for the rest of their lives, they're set up with pensions and health care and big money and back scratches from all these people? Why would they give that up? That's why they did not, from the Republican Party, that's why they did not fix health care. And so the state of affairs in this country is just like Texas. You have a lot of people that are proud, a lot of people that carry guns, a lot of people that say this or that. But nobody is working together. They're not even sitting down and talking with each other. You can't even get people to get together and by the hundreds do a tweet to go against Wolf Blitzer, who by and large I think wins the award for biggest jackass in the history of journalism for what he said yesterday, that it may be that the Islamic terrorists in Spain was a copycat attack from Charlottesville. Yes, and somebody just said glued to their cell phones. Listen, we're all guilty of that. I'm probably the worst. I work social media like it's going out of style, but I'm trying to do it to build this. I don't know if it's working. This will make you stupid unless you know how to use it properly. So let's close up this part of the show. And we'll talk about the state senator, and then we'll do the Friday night toast. Here's the deal. I'll say this over and over again. We'll do a show every night about this. I don't care. The American people need to start communicating with each other. You don't have to have a militia to be united. You don't have to all carry guns to be able to work together. It's as simple as this, folks. Do you remember that thing called Hands Across America that MTV did years ago? We should do another one of these. Except call it We the People. I don't know, something like that. Where we get everybody together, conservative or liberal, to stand together and say, we are only going to stand for what's effective from now on. If Washington, D.C. doesn't do what's effective, if they don't fix health care, if they don't clean up the water in many of these cities, if they don't ensure that homeless veterans are taken care of and that the VA system is fixed, if they insist on doing deals with other countries that give away our uranium, for instance. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. They come into office and write books and make tons of money off their books and do all these things while they're in office. We shouldn't be standing for any of that. Listen, forget the Convention of States. I know somebody just wrote that here. I'm sick of hearing about that. You know why I'm sick about hearing about that? Do you know who's going to run the Convention of States? The Republican and the Democratic parties. You're not going to get away from these two parties, folks, unless we start another one and completely crush those two parties and get enough people in there to outlaw political parties. There is no checks and balances. You might as well consider every mayor and every governor, every congressman, every senator, every president, every judge a part of those two private companies. The Democratic and Republican parties are private companies. You might as well consider them as tainted. And this Convention of States, or, you know, the only way you could do that is if you got enough activist governors out there and people to stand up, and that's not going to happen. And I'll tell you why, because we can't even get the people to stand together on social media and just stand. Just stand together. Not fighting together, not coming against the federal government, just standing. You can't even get that. It doesn't matter if you all have the same idea. It doesn't matter who's in charge. You can't even stand together. The American people are failing. It doesn't matter if you've served in the military or if you're a housewife, a mom, a dad. If you're 18 or 80, you don't stand together. We don't stand together. But I can guarantee you this. We will fall together. This country will fall if we don't stand together. And if we fall, we will all go down together. Now, that may be great in a song where everybody's drinking, but I don't want to live that way. And the state of affairs in this country is directly reflected upon the American citizenry and their laziness and their inability to stand next to each other and say, I'm your brother or I'm your sister, and I'm going to stand here with you. And that's the truth. There would be no ruling party if the American people stood together. There would be no senators and congressmen that are screwing over this country if we stood together. You'd have a great education system if we stood together. You'd have health care that's good for everybody if we all stood together. You wouldn't have a homeless problem if we all stood together. We wouldn't have a problem with North Korea if we all stood together. Or Islam if we all stood together. You wouldn't have a white supremacist small little movement going around. You wouldn't have anarchists and communists if we all stood together. But we don't. And that, my friends, is the state of affairs in this country. Now, you all keep seeing this GoFundMe thing scroll across the bottom of the page here. I mentioned this last night, as I always do, and some smart aleck wanted to come on there and say something about, why do you have a GoFundMe page? You know, it doesn't cost anything to do this stuff for free. It costs a tremendous amount. I challenge anybody that thinks it doesn't cost anything to do this to quit your job and concentrate on this. Go around and give free speeches to try to spread the word and get people fired up. Spend your days researching the reality of what's going on behind the scenes. Do your technical stuff. Set this stuff up. See how much it costs you. If you believe in this show and what we're doing here, go to the GoFundMe page. You'll see it scroll across the bottom of the screen here in a minute. Go there and donate $10, $20, $1,000. Do whatever you can. Because, folks, there's nobody else that's trying to unify you all like this. Everybody has their little special interests here or there. You got your militia people, and they're never going to communicate. I love a lot of these guys. You're never going to communicate with the liberals out there. It's not going to happen. This is the only show of its kind where I try my hardest to speak to everybody. Yeah, I'm you could call me conservative. I'm a realist. I look for effective solutions to the problems that we have. If we don't learn to come together and think of effective solutions, the country's going to fall. This show is an effort, my effort. It's my effort to try and get people to be unified. The free speeches that I go around and give where people donate money when I'm there and raise money, that's because I know that they can't afford to pay for me to come there. I go there through the donations to this show. They'll take up funds when I get there and try to refund the trip. Why do I do that? Because when I leave there and I see people teary-eyed, and then I go to the next city and they're teary-eyed in that city, I realized when I first did it that this is something that has to continue to happen. Because I can't get people to stand together by just coming on Facebook Live every now and then and saying something. This is what I'm doing. What are you going to do? You can donate to this show. You can partake in the dialogue. You can sponsor me and get me out there so I can give speeches out there and get people together and talk. That is what we need to be doing, not going to guns. Are you going to stand against the military? Do you think the military is going to disobey generals that are leading the military? If you're an attorney, why aren't you giving free services to somebody who's trying to run for something, or why aren't we working together to raise money for somebody who's worth being in there? We should have hundreds of these people of free people who are constitutionalists that don't care about the party. So go to the GoFundMe, donate what you can, help us keep this going. And let's do our best to start unifying and talking and standing together. What I was saying a second ago about the Hands Across America, MTV did that, and people came out. I remember I was in high school. People came out and stood together and held hands, and it practically went across the entire country. Why aren't we standing with each other like that? There would be none of these problems. Real quick, I want to bring up this Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal. She's a Missouri state senator. I believe she should be in jail. She definitely should be removed from that office. And this is another perfect example. They said, just like, I forget what the guy's name is, he's a senator in in New Jersey that may actually, he's got a case coming up. I'll pull that up. Menendez out of New Jersey has a trial coming up for, I think it's fraud. Or, let's see here. Bribery. He's got a bribery trial coming up. He is very similar to this weirdo, Maria Chappelle Nadal, the state senator out of Missouri. Both of them, if they were charged or convicted of something, it doesn't mean that they have to give up their position. In what other job besides something in government, which includes judges, if you do something that egregious, like threaten the president of assassination or bribery, in what other job are you going to be able to keep your job? In what other career field would you be able to keep that job? There is none. Why is this? Because we, the people, are not working together. We're not standing together. Look, it's Friday, folks. Numbers are great. The numbers are great, and I can't thank you all for on a Friday night for coming and being a part of this show tonight. Usually my Friday shows are a little bit more lighthearted. They're funny, and we have a toast at the end. But I think the thing with Bannon leaving the White House is a huge wake-up call for a lot of people. You need to realize, I'm hearing this from multiple sources. President Trump is isolated. President Trump does not have any of the advisors he had, with the exception of Stephen Miller and Hope. I forgot what her name is. It's going to be head of communications. Two inconsequential people. Their opinions don't matter at all. The only people that are left is his son-in-law, who is a globalist, and his daughter, who is also a globalist. Both know George Soros and his son. Both know the Clintons. Those are the only two people that are left from that original group of people that were helping him with his campaign. None of the conservatives that were there with him are there with him anymore. Trump is isolated. We are no longer fully represented in the White House. And the fact that Bannon is out was a big wake-up call for a lot of people. It should scare you. And hopefully scare you to standing together. And yes, we are in a civil war right now. But it's not a civil war that's being fought with guns. So let's do this. All right? I'm going to do my Friday night toast. So somebody just asked on Twitter, what do we do? I've already told you, I don't know how many times I got to tell you again on this show, we have to learn how to stand together before you stand your ground. How are you going to stand your ground against this 200-year-old force mixed with communism and Islam? How are you going to stand against that if you won't stand together? How? You can't stand together. I know people who have a bad boss, or they have a clique that they work with that they can't stand. And because other people won't stand together against it, they get bullied all over the place. If you don't stand together, you can't stand against the enemy. Had to help Rico up. He's old. All right, so we're going to go to the Friday night toast. Now, here's one thing I do also want to mention real quick before we go. Twitter is censoring people, okay? They're doing it secretly, not outwardly, not like idiot Google where they come on and tell everybody they're going to censor them on YouTube. I guarantee I can go over to YouTube right now, and I have 30 people. That's more than normal. As compared to, we've had over 200 on Facebook tonight and close to 100 earlier on Twitter. Twitter is censoring, and what they're doing is when you tweet something in support of the president, or you tweet something in support of something that's conservative, your tweet doesn't go out. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes over to your tweets and replies, but your main tweet stuff doesn't go out. I'm almost positive Facebook does something similar. But with Twitter, it's become very evident. So what you do is you just retweet it, and then it will go out, and then it will appear on your page. That's what I've found. Again, folks, you can't stand against this stuff if you don't stand together. Now, I don't have all the answers. I see the big picture. But I would recommend that you all start taking this seriously, that you have a sense of readiness about you, and you start communicating with each other. Stop trying to be the one that is the hero and has it figured out. Just try standing together. Just try that at first, because that's reality. You want to figure out the answer to the problem, stand together. And everybody wants to do a tweet tonight. So here's what we're going to do. Here's what I want you all to tweet out. What time is it right now? 10 o'clock. So at 10:30, that's 30 minutes from now. Let me think about this for a second. All right. Stand by. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a contest. I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes to come up with a tweet. And I'm going to, what I want it to be, it can be over 140 characters. Preferably short, though. And I want you to say something, okay? So here's what we're going to do. You got 5 minutes before I end this show. I want the tweet to say that the American people are standing together, that we are now awake, and we understand before we can stand against an enemy, we have to stand together. It's got to say something like that. All right, so I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to think about that. If you don't have a drink, go get your drink. And whoever I think is the best, then I'm going to put that in a meme. I will tweet that at 10:30, and then what I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to retweet that. This whole thing we've been doing about everybody coming up with their own tweet or taking it and doing their own tweet, it's too difficult. So here's what we're going to do. I'm giving you 5 minutes to come up with something to say. And then I want you to, and then I'm going to pick it, and then I'm going to make a meme out of it. That's going to picture with the words on it. I'm going to tweet it at 10:30, and then I want you to go to my page and retweet it. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, follow me. If you don't like my page on Facebook, like it. And if you don't follow me on YouTube, follow me there. Okay, so let's go. Come on, let's come up with some different things here. I know Michael Jack's got some things. I like Michael Jack's. Real Donald Trump, focus and listen to We the People. We stand with you and will guide you. I like that one. Ooh, Join America. That's a good one. I'm writing down what you guys are saying. Hashtag stand with Trump. I like that. Let's see. United we stand, divided we fall. That's a good one, as always. This is fun. I like this. Stand with Trump and stand for America and all she stands for. That's good. That's a lot of standing. All right, let's see here. What else we got? We the people are awake, united. We stand. We are taking our country back. Ooh, I like that one. For God and country. Stand for Trump or end up in the dump. Oh, independent thought by unified people will light the way for liberty. Let me tell you something, folks. We're coming up with some good stuff here. We may just need to make a book out of all this stuff. All right. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Let me go ahead and end the show because I can scroll back through all these and look at them. All right? See, this is what I'm talking about, folks, okay? There's 200 people on here right now, and I tasked you guys with something, and look how much people are working together. E pluribus unum isn't just a phrase on our money. I like that one, Debbie. Stand with Trump or suck start my 45. Robin, you're on a roll. Why do I feel like that's Rich? Maybe that's it's doing all those. All right. All right. Here's what I'm gonna do. Do you have your drink? Everybody have their drink. If you haven't partaken in this before, I wish we still had the numbers we had earlier. We're still got the highest numbers of the week somehow. So let's do this. Stand by 1 second. Let me move my screen back around where I can. I'm not going to screw this up. So I'll show you guys something here. Let me see if I can do this or not. So as you can see, I don't want to screw that up. Hold on. Stand by. So as you can see, I have a whole new setup. I don't know if you know what I was showing you there, but I'm in the process of soundproofing this whole thing, and so I got these walls around me now, and I'm kind of enclosed in a little studio that I've built here. Because I use this so much for television as well. I do all my Skypes out of here as well. So, yeah, it's coming together. Okay. Let's do the toast. All right, we can't just do this. We can't just do this so serious. We got to have a little bit of fun for the night. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to bring her back on. I know that she's had a hard go of it these past couple of weeks, but I couldn't think of anybody of a better example of who we should stand against. And she said, okay, I'll come on. I know you guys don't like me, so I'm going to go. I'll come on there anyway. And ladies and gentlemen, not Nancy Pelosi, what am I saying? Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here with you. I wish somebody would give me my computer back. That's all I really have to say. And I'm so tired. I need some lotion and some more grease for my hair. And can somebody just get that Dennis Kucinich guy away from me?
Why, Debbie? Dennis Kucinich loves you, Debbie. I always like to refer to myself in the second person, Dennis Kucinich. I don't know what it is. I love you, Denny. Debbie.
Thank you, Dennis. Debbie Wasserman Schultz out. Get out of here.
Get out of here, Debbie. Here's to the American people. Let's stand together, folks. And you know one thing I'll leave you with? One thing I learned when I was in the SEAL teams, when things look bad, they're only as bad as what you're not prepared for. If you're prepared for bad things, then bad things can't harm you. Folks, it is time to stand together so that we can stand against the enemies. You have to have a sense of humor when things get bad. You have to be willing not to take yourself so seriously, not to curse at your fellow citizen. You should take your citizenship so seriously that when you're in, and I'm not talking about on the road arguing, I'm talking about when you're doing something like this, where it is important for us to stand together and to realize that things are going on in this country You shouldn't be cursing at each other. You shouldn't be loud-mouthing each other and putting each other down on Twitter. If you're a troll, go away. But if you're an American and you are concerned about this country and you're liberal or you're conservative, it's time that you start putting those two terms to the side and start asking, are we looking at effective leaders here? Or are we looking at people that are just trying to rip us off? Which one is it? You're smart enough, folks. You're free enough. That's the other thing. We're free in this country. Don't you get it? We don't have to worry about a government telling us what to do if we want to unite. We have the right and we have the ability. But do we have the will? I don't know. So I raise a toast tonight to the American people, to those that are freeborn and those that have come here. May we stand together. May we stand against the enemy. And may this country live long, prosper, and may our children and their children remain free. Join me. I'm Jonathan Gillum. That's Rico. And this is The Experts. We'll see you tomorrow. No, I'll see you Monday. It's not
fair. I want my computer, and you, sir, will pay a heavy price if you don't give me my computer. And I need lotion and grease for my hair. I just touch my hair. So anyway, as I was saying, everybody should worship me, and I'm great. And have you ever noticed that if you stare at me, how you turn into like a rock? My hair. I love my hair. Do you love my hair? I think you should. You should love my hair. And you too. You should love my hair as well.
I honestly don't know what this guy would be saying except for this woman's an idiot. Have a great weekend. Be free.